Tiffany Henyard. So a lot of people realize or probably notice, and they've been actually hitting me up, and they say, Anton, are you going to still cover Tiffany Henyard? Anton, are you going to still cover Tiffany Henyard? Anton. Well, I had reserved myself from covering it. And one of the reasons that I had reserved or, prevented myself from covering it, I see over 2,000 people in here and the likes is incredibly low. So I'm going to need y'all to get the likes up. I'm going to need y'all to get the likes up or we're going to go to a TJ Henley commercial. They said, Anton, why haven't you been covering Tiffany Henyard? I said, well, and I'm going to be honest with you. I felt a little bad for her. I do. My heart felt a little bad for her because I was like, oh, man, you know what I'm saying? I just was doing a couple little shows based off of what information was provided. And so I wanted to explore. I didn't want to actually get her in no trouble or anything like that. And then that junk just started spreading like wildfire. And so, you know me, I'll reach out to the people. And then some people reached out to me as a result of me being tied to some people that may know what's going on over there or whatever, so on and so forth, right? And so I says, okay, well, let me go ahead and just put my request out. Give her an opportunity to be able to speak her piece, right? Because I always want to get both sides. It's very easy to just tell it from one perspective from people that don't like you. But sometimes information turns into misinformation. And so we don't know what it is. And so again, talk to multiple different people, multiple different times, put the request out. Never heard nothing back after they called me and contacted me. One of her assistant called me and said, hey, Tom, and then it was like, And you know what the interesting part about it is? I know that they watch my show. I know for a fact that they watch my show. So I had reserved myself and I said, well, you know what? Let me just see how this plays out. Let me see how it plays out. I want to see how things go. It's only so much you can ignore. Because when I see things play out the way that it's continuing to play out, I got to bring you back to the front of the congregation. So this is the latest debacle and fiasco of what's happening over in Dolton, small city of Dolton, right outside of Chicago. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. If you have not joined the Patreon, the link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat.
But would you advise one of your candidates to do something like that using taxpayer funds?
No, not using taxpayer funds.
Okay, so if you've driven one of the expressways in the south suburbs recently, you've no doubt seen one of these giant billboards. They feature the name and the face of a smiling local politician. What you may not know is the money for these billboards is coming out of taxpayers' pockets, and that's raising questions.
Let me go get some
for
water.
Tiffany Henyard, the Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, who has already come under fire for spending public money promoting herself.
Dane Placco has the latest chapter in his ongoing investigation into Henyard's questionable spending.
Take a drive to the south suburbs and you can't miss them. 4 giant billboards featuring Tiffany Henyard's name in large letters, along with her picture, smiling down on the thousands of cars going by on Interstate 57 and the Bishop Ford Expressway. What are they advertising? One says fresh produce, another senior services, and this one simply says we offer general assistance. There's a phone number, but you wouldn't know what it's for unless you can read in teeny tiny letters, Thornton Township Supervisor, as you're speeding by.
These are the billboards that have gone up along the expressways.
We showed the billboards to Bert Odelson, an election attorney who's been working in Illinois politics for 50 years.
When I first looked at it, I thought, what is she running for now? Because that's what it shouts out.
Odelson, who represents a political faction opposed to Henyard and Dalton, says it's clear the billboards are promoting more than township services. He says they're essentially campaign ads.
So what they're alleging, which I basically agree with, what they're alleging is that, and if you look at the sign, her name is the biggest thing on the sign. It's not the services. It's not the thing. It's not whatever it is, right? And it's very unfortunate because I don't know who's in this woman's circle. I don't know who's standing next to this woman and helping her, or is she just that bullheaded to where she just won't be quiet long enough for this whole thing to die down so then she don't have this visibility. I know she's stressed out. She got to be stressed out over there. I know she got to be you know what I'm saying, pulling her hair out or losing sleep and all of this stuff or whatever, so on and so forth, because now you got the entire internet on your head and you got the regular national news or whatever, and people are paying attention. So when you're promoting something under the guise that you're promoting a service, but in reality, you're promoting you. So this is called what I call a white lie. It's a white lie promotional tactic, marketing tactic, right? In which you can justify, or you try to justify, using public tax dollars. Now, remember, guys, this is not coming out of your pocket. It's already egregious enough that you are doing this and you're not just being quiet long enough to be able to let stuff die down and people to stop tracking your every movement and behavior and putting you on a radar of the FBI and all of this stuff, right? It's not enough for you to just be quiet. But not only that, you're using city services and tax dollars to do it.
This is a blatant attempt to promote herself politically. The township should not have paid for these if they did, and I'm sure they did.
They did indeed. Bills obtained by Fox 32 under open records laws shows Thornton Township paid more than $10,000 for the vinyl signs themselves and more than $12,000 to Clear Channel Outdoor Advertising for 1 month's rental of the billboards.
I can't. I don't understand what's wrong with y'all. Do you not see, and are you not paying attention to the fact that you are literally under a microscope? And what do? You go and throw your entire name up on a billboard under the guise of advertising for the city, yet you're the one that's getting the visibility for it. Your name is the one that's at the top of it.
Month's rental of the billboards.
What was your reaction when you saw it?
Well, first of all, I didn't know anything about them.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says the board was never consulted about the billboards, which he says needed their approval.
Kind of some of the first things that popped in my mind is, what are we doing? This isn't a big sale. We're not selling cars here. I mean, if it's informational, then it should be informational. I mean, there's...
You know what the interesting thing is, and let me tell you the difference between small cities and big cities, because maybe I'm off. This is the difference between small cities and big cities. For larger cities, what happens is they usually have city council, which I'm assuming that this board of trustees is supposed to be serving under the guise of, and I'm not sure if these trustees get paid. I'm assuming that they probably don't. But for larger cities, they have city council members. And what happens is there's a budget fight in order for them to be able to direct where the funds are going, right? So the city council are the ones that basically control the money, not the mayor. The mayor is the one that puts together a proposed budget. The city council is pretty much the person that it runs through. The mayor is usually the person that kind of runs what it is that they're approved for, and they try to do it as efficiently as possible as far as balancing the budget and working for the city council. And because they are the face of the city, they're the representation of it. It's similar to what happens with the president, right? The president can, in some instances, through emergency powers or through a crisis, control where it is that they're allocating resources, right? But at the same time, in reality, it's the Congress that really approves or disapproves, and they have a limited amount of power, or the president has a limited amount of power based off of whatever it is that Congress approves. And the reason that they do this is because it's supposed to be checks and balances. It's supposed to be to prevent things like this from happening from people that have an agenda, that have no kind of oversight as to what it is that they're doing or why they're doing it, right? You have to get it approved. You have to allocate monies and resources to certain spaces. But I'm assuming that in these smaller towns, in which I'm not even really familiar, but based off of the research that I've done, that she has autonomy to do whatever it is that she wants to do. And then all they can do is basically call her to the front of the congregation and say, hey, why you spending like this or why you spending like that? So now there's no checks and balances in order to prevent her from doing the things that she's doing. And she can just throw up a sign and then try to justify it by saying that, well, we did this for the city and this was for the city. But the reality is that you're doing it for yourself. And so when you have little oversight, which a lot of these people really need, what you're really doing is ruining your own life, and you're ruining the lives of the people that's going to actually have to pay for this, which is the residents of the city that's already, on average, I heard, making less than $25,000 per person or per household. Less than. And so she's more concerned, it looks like, with getting reelected and getting visibility for herself, which is probably the worst thing that she can do, than she is about the residents of the city. And it's unfortunate.
So many other ways we could have spent that money that would have, directly helped people.
This isn't the first time Henyard has used taxpayer dollars to burnish her own personal image. In fact, on other occasions, she spent a lot more.
Hey guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Earlier this year, Fox 32 showed you how Henyard spent tens of thousands of dollars using employees and vehicles from the township and from Dalton, where she also serves as mayor, for a week-long walk to Springfield to promote her self-named cancer charity, which is yet to file required reporting. And you can't turn your head in Dalton or Thornton Township without seeing Henyard's picture or name. It's on all the government-owned vehicles, buildings.
Jesus Christ. If this ain't a form of narcissism, I don't know what is. If this is not okay, let me double check. I'm going to read the super chat shortly. I just want to double check to see what the average income is in Dalton. The average individual income in Dalton, the median income is $24,218 according to the most recent census. The average individual income in Dalton, Illinois is $24,218. 91.2% black or African American people, 5% white, 0% American Indian and Alaskan natives, and 0.2% Asians live in Dalton. 91.2% of the entire population in Dalton is black people, which tells you that's the reason why she got into office in the first place. And she painted her name on the entire city. Good God. Look at this.
It's on all the government-owned vehicles.
It's on the vehicles. It's on the vehicles. Most people don't even know who their township supervisor is. It's on the vehicles. Good God.
Buildings, even on the rugs in the township, where we found a Tiffany Henyard 2024 calendar featuring all the important dates to remember, including her birthday.
You gotta be kidding me. Her birthday is June 18th. You telling me that I know that her birthday, do you know that my anniversary is June 19th? Yeah, my anniversary just so happened to be on Juneteenth. I ain't playing it that way either. They got her birthday on the calendar. Now, this is we know we use that term narcissism very loosely out here in these streets today, but this is crazy.
Would be having a fit if she was my client, telling her not to do this.
Veteran Chicago political consultant Delmarie Cobb says there would be nothing wrong if Henyard were using her own political funds for those promotional materials, especially the billboards.
I actually had a candidate years ago who was running for mayor of Dalton, and that's what we did. We bought billboards along the expressway, because if you're coming and going home all day, and one of the things I always say about billboards is they're working when you're asleep.
In 2011, state lawmakers passed a law banning the practice of politicians putting their names on publicly funded signs, spurred by these tollway signs featuring former Governor Rod Blagojevich. That law does not extend to mayors or other elected officials, but election attorney Odelson believes the billboards do violate state election laws.
It's a crime. Yeah, you're using public funds for something that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used for.
And just when you think you've seen it all, take a look at this. When the first billboard went up last summer, Thornton was misspelled as Thornton. Another sign had to be ordered, apparently at taxpayer expense.
Oh, come on, man. Oh, my God. This chick is the boss. This is crazy. Unreal.
Dane Placco, Fox 32, Chicago.
So far, Henyard has not responded to any of our questions about the billboards. And tomorrow, Dane has another Henyard investigation. This time, he exposes a new law that cuts the salary of the Thornton Township supervisor by $200,000, but only takes effect if someone else gets her job.
This is crazy. This is absolutely insane.